Good morning. It is 6:36 on Wednesday, last day of September, Chelsea. This is it. We're into October as of tomorrow.
Yeah, we're here heading into fall, whether you like it or not. I guess we're already into fall.
Yeah, pretty much,
real
right?
fall. So,
Oh, well. It is what it is. October can be fun.
What you want to accomplish this October. What's going on in your life? What you want to do? Maybe it involves moving households. That's
This is an interesting discussion, hey?
An increasing trend. Yeah, that now more and more kids thinking about changing households and living with the other parent that they've currently been living with if they're coming from a divorced family.
Yeah, and they're calling it parent shopping. So joining us is Alyssa Bach, who is a lawyer who's been dealing with a number of these cases. Good morning, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion in terms of parents being stuck. I mean, you want to do the best for your kids, but we're seeing kids, and parents approaching you saying, okay, my kid wants to switch if we head into a second lockdown because they didn't like the first one. Is that essentially what we're talking about?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is this new trend emerging from our clients, which is dealing with teenagers of divorced parents that are requesting a move to the other parent's home. Now, where it's unique is the reasons why these requests are coming up. Normally, it's something that when a parent has a discussion with their teenager about moving homes, not dealing with COVID circumstances, there's a discussion, and if arrangements can be made, the parents are able to have that conversation and make that decision together. But the issue that we're seeing is that with COVID, when it's essentially akin to parent shopping, we have parents inquiring about, well, what do I do if I don't feel like the other parent is going to be assisting them with their schoolwork? Say they're doing online schooling. Or how do we deal with this? Because I think that they are really just moving because they're going to be the more lenient parent during COVID. And so that's complicating this deference that teenagers are typically given when they're requesting a move, because they are seen more as an adult child, and you're not dealing with a 7-year-old anymore. You're dealing with potentially a 17-year-old, where they're looking at the next stage in their lives, but they're still under your household, right? They're still in high school. They're still dealing with important aspects that you as a parent want to make sure that they're taken care of. And so with these moves, that's really the concern that we're seeing is, do I accommodate it? What safety measures need to be put in place because of that unique age gap?
Yeah, Alyssa, you touched on it a little bit there, but I'm curious to know what is driving most kids to want to change households.
Yeah, so some of the reasons that we're seeing is that there's just a more lenient household. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean a less safe household. So there are concerns being raised by parents saying, well, look, like, what if the other parent's not following COVID protocols? But on the other side, it's just that you may have one parent that lets you see your friends, whereas the other parent is a bit more strict in that aspect. Or one parent that is, well, why aren't you sitting down doing all of your homework? And the other one that's, okay, you know what, like, I trust that you're going to get this done. And so that's one of the reasons that we're seeing. And the other one is that with COVID and just general isolation, looking for a change of venue, right? Looking for just a new environment.
And like you said, it's different depending on the age of the kid. You want to allow the older kid to sort of have some say in their lives in some direction. So is it better to sort of try and work with them and allow them to have that choice?
Yeah, so when, say we're looking at it from the legal court perspective, when you're looking at the best interests of a child, one of the factors is the child's views and preferences. And the older a child gets, so when you're getting into those teen years, the more weight that aspect is given. And so that's where traditionally parents with teenagers, as they get into those older ages, are able to accommodate those requests, and they're able to work it out. But again, it's with COVID that we're seeing these changes in the reasons, which is triggering the parents to kind of have that, okay, this is a new environment. Am I actually okay with this transition? And so should they be working it out with the teenagers? Definitely something that you want to have a family conversation. Why do they want to be moving? What is there a compromise that can be reached? Is it something that counseling can assist with? Maybe it's that there's just tensions in the home and they need a temporary break. So having open discussions about that is really important.
What options does a parent have, Alyssa, if they think, no, I don't want to let my kid go to the other household?
Yeah, so that's where you're balancing this best interest. So knowing that their views and preferences are going to be a paramount consideration, you need to assess, is there concrete evidence that they're not going to do well with the other parent? And that's where you have parents consulting lawyers to say, look, these are my specific facts. This is my situation. Is it worth any kind of fight? Because normally it's not, right? Normally you want parents to be able to have a third person mediate for them, have a family friend get involved who both of you trust, as opposed to going through the legal route where you're now dealing with lawyers and courts and extended time frames. And that's it's going to be a fact-based analysis, though. Is it worth it? Because knowing that one of the big ones is, what do they want?
And there's going to be complications if some of these choices are made, I would think. I mean, if you're paying child support to whatever parent is the home base for the child and they switch that home base, wouldn't the support arrangement have to change as well? I mean, there's legal considerations here.
That is one of the biggest concerns that has come up, is when you've got a parent who, if they've been the parent receiving child support and now all of a sudden there's a change in residence, that would result in a change in the child support payment. Sure. So you've got a parent who's been, say, especially when we're dealing with teenagers, you could be in receipt of that support for over 5 years. You're relying on those funds coming in every month. And if your teenager is requesting that change, not only do you not have those funds coming in, but you're now paying support to the other parent. And that's something that requires a lot of financial juggling and kind of reassessing. Because as far as if the change happens, or if you're assessing whether the change should happen, the child support isn't going to be a factor on should it happen. It's going to be a consequence of it happening that needs to be dealt with.
All right, Alyssa, we're talking about kids, wanting to maybe switch households after maybe staying with one parent for an extended period of time. A lot of contact with one parent during the first, kind of lockdown. I'm curious, though, from your perspective as a lawyer, what's the state of people inquiring about divorces right now? Are we still seeing a trend that it's going up?
Yeah, so I know that our firm in particular, we saw a 40% jump in inquiries.
40%?
Throughout COVID. And so that's something that differing factors to it could just be that you were sitting on that decision for a while anyways, and then this was the trigger that you said, okay, now I need to contact a lawyer. But we definitely saw a pretty dramatic jump. And that's something that it's been a difficult time for a lot of families, from not only that isolation aspect, having to be with somebody in the home, but financial kind of tensions. That it's created a snowball and this ultimate kind of conflict that people are deciding to separate.
Can you imagine if you're living with somebody that you don't really like that much, and now all of a sudden you're not allowed to leave the house for months, and you're in there together? That's going to be a breaking point.
Makes a lot of sense. The tensions would certainly increase. Wow, 40% is unbelievable. That's
yikes.
It's definitely been a spike, and that's something that you hope that a lot of the issues that come up, that parents, whether it's with their children or with their spouse, that they're able to address those things and deal with it amicably.